baseball fans. You're watching On Deck with Tyler Redmond.
Welcome into Braves on Deck, everybody. Thank you for being here. I wish I was coming here with better news. Don't you know it? I had a whole show put together, script and all, and that went out the window. So we have a lot to talk about. Of course, I know you already know. If you're tuning into this live stream, you already know that's what you're here for. Jurickson Profar has indeed been suspended for 80 games due to using a banned substance. And that substance, of course, I can't even hardly pronounce, but he has been caught with it. It is what it is. The Braves are going to have to roll with it. And the Braves actually did release a statement today. We're going to show you that first here in just a second, followed by showing you Jurickson Profar's statement. But I wanted to be fair and show you what the Braves had to say about it. Of course, the Braves said, "We are surprised and extremely disappointed to learn that Jurickson Profar tested positive for a performance-enhancing substance in violation of Major League Baseball's Joint Prevention and Treatment Program. We fully support the program and are hopeful that Jurickson will learn from this experience." Now, to be fair to Jurickson here, there's a lot on the list that you wouldn't think would be on the list, and I'll be honest with you, the thing that he is accused of using, I, again, have never heard of. I wish that I could tell you different, but it is the case that he is still banned for 80 games. This comes at a really bad time for the Braves, who are, of course, already down so many players, and now will be down Jurickson Profar for the next 80 games. By the way, in case you're wondering, he will be eligible to return around June 28th. That is where we're at. June 28th, they will be taking on the Phillies that day. The drug that he is accused of taking or has tested positive for is chorionic gonadotropin. I'll be honest with you, I couldn't tell you what it is, so we're just going to refer to it as its acronym HCG. It is considered a performance enhancer. I tried to do some research on it to see exactly what it is. From what I could tell, it's some kind of fertility drug. That's as much as we know. It does increase testosterone. That is all we know, is that he has tested positive. And he also did release a statement. I found it interesting. He released this through the Players Association, which isn't too uncommon. But this did come from the Major League Baseball Player Association on behalf of Jurickson Profar. And I'll read it for you. It says, "Braves fans, today is the most difficult day of my baseball career. I am devastated to announce that I have been suspended for 80 games by Major League Baseball and the Commissioner's Office for testing positive for a banned substance this offseason. This is especially painful for me because anyone who knows me and has seen me play knows I am deeply passionate about the game. There is nothing I love more than competing with my teammates and being a fan favorite. I want to apologize to the entire Braves organization, my teammates, and to the fans. It is because of my deep love and respect for this game that I would never knowingly do anything to cheat it. I have been tested my entire career, including 8 times last season alone, and have never tested positive. I would never willingly take a banned substance, but I take full responsibility and accept Major League Baseball's decision." He goes on to say, "I am devastated that I will not be on the field with my teammates for the next 80 games. I look forward to competing again at the highest level this season upon my return." At the end of the day, we'll never know really what the truth is. We'll never know if he took it knowingly. We'll never know if he didn't or not. And it is not my place to sit here and tell you what a lot of you guys are going to say, which is, he did it, he knows he did it, and he's wrong, and, you know, we should cut him from the team. That's the go-to gut reaction, and I get it. I've already seen it in the comment section here. I've seen it on other videos. I've seen it on Twitter. But I would say, let's slow down for a second. It's easy to go there. And I'm not going to tell you that you're wrong in feeling that way. You have every right as a fan to feel that way. But again, it's tough to know what's real. You know, if you remember back when another San Diego Padre, actually, Fernando Tatis Jr., got in trouble a few years ago. It is, he basically said he took a cream for ringworm, and that's what led to it. So there's a lot that it could be, and I don't want to speculate any further than that. We don't know everything. We know what the exact drug he is accused of taking, and apparently we of course, it is a steroid type of performance enhancer, and that's how Major League Baseball classifies it. And that is what Major League Baseball has decided. So it is what it is. I do, and I don't want to get too involved here. I will tell you this. I do find it interesting that this comes following the series in San Diego. I do find that interesting. San Diego has had, like I just mentioned, issues prior to this. I'm just saying. I will also tell you this. I was actually, excuse me, I was actually in the clubhouse in spring training when a drug test was being given, and, I've seen how serious Major League Baseball takes it. In fact, I won't name the player, but there was a player who was aggravated that he had to be there that day. He was supposed to be out of town that particular occasion, and they made him come in to take the drug test. He passed it, as far as we know. It wasn't Profar, but I know how serious they take it, and I know that, obviously they're going to give Profar the runaround here. He's out for 80 games. He's also disqualified from the playoffs, which means if the Braves do make it to the playoffs of the season, he will not be able. To play. He can play throughout the remainder of the regular season, but he cannot play come the postseason, which is unfortunate. We saw what he was able to do in the playoffs last year. He's a terrific player. I hate it. I hate what it's going to do to this team. The Braves got out ahead of this a little by signing Stuart Fairchild. I assume we'll see some kind of platoon between him and Verdugo until Acuña comes back. Maybe Brian De La Cruz is involved. There's a lot that they can do. Jared Kelenic. But it's not ideal. It's not ideal at all. I mean, in a perfect world, you'd have Profar, Michael Harrison center, and then in right you'd have a platoon of Kelenic and Brian De La Cruz until Acuña comes back. That was the plan. And I would argue this absence of Acuña is, in all likelihood, a big reason why we signed Profar in the first place. Profar wasn't something I thought the Braves really needed. Atlanta felt differently. He is signed to a 3-year deal. The one important thing to note here, he will not get paid while he's gone. Those 80 games, he will not get paid. So I think that's $7 million that he's going to miss this year. So if there's any positive for a fan who's disgruntled right now, and you have every right to be, it would be that, is that he's not getting paid. I know there's a lot of comments in the chat about it. I get it. Unfortunately, it was not the only bad news that we got today. Reynaldo Lopez just got named on the 15-day injured list with elbow inflammation. So not only are we down a left fielder, we're also down a starting pitcher. Reynaldo was, of course, supposed to start in this series with the Dodgers. He started the second game of the year. I assume he would have started the final game against the Dodgers against Blake Snell. I'll be honest with you, he looked off in that first appearance against the Padres. He did not look like himself, did not look like the guy we'd seen all last year. I'm not overly surprised to hear that he's battling some elbow inflammation. The velo was down. He seemed to catch a lot of the plate. In fact, again, this is my script for what I was going to do tonight. In fact, I mentioned kind of what I thought about it, which was he's got to find a way to not catch so much of the zone, especially if the velo's not there. And now we know that the velo isn't there because he's battling elbow inflammation. So we'll have to see what it is. A lot of moving parts today. It wasn't just Reynaldo. It wasn't just Profar. It wasn't just Stuart Fairchild getting traded for. Jesse Chavez is back. If there's one shining light today, it's that Hector Neris was designated for assignment. To the applaud of a lot of Braves fans, they brought in Jesse Chavez. So your bullpen's going to look a little different. I think it will continue to shift. I think Jesse Chavez, obviously good to have him back. I didn't think it would happen. I think a lot of people didn't think it would happen. All of a sudden, here we are. Jesse Chavez is indeed back in a Braves uniform where he does his best work. That said, there's a lot that still needs to happen. I don't think that the Braves are going to rush anybody back, but we all know that Murphy's out still, Strider's out still, Acuña's out still. And I got to be honest with you, I feel right now that until they get back, this is not going to feel like Braves baseball. And it doesn't help the fact with this Profar situation, they're already out to a 0-4 record. So I'm sitting here just wondering, how are we going to go about this? What's going to change? Grant Holmes will take the mound tonight against Tyler Glasnow, and the bats have got to come together. They've got to improve. Grant Holmes, I'm not even really worried about. I think he'll be fine. I'm worried about the pen. I'm worried about the bats. The Braves have been very unlucky in the 0-4 stretch against the Padres. They were definitely winnable games. I think that they'll win games playing the way they've played. But so far, it has not been a fun watch. I think that's easy to say. And I think at this point, you're kind of just hoping that they turn things around. The offense gets going and, maybe some new leaders emerge, right? Maybe Michael Harris starts really carrying the team like we know he can. He's done it before. Maybe he really pops off this season, at least for the time being. It can carry us through this early part. From one series to another, I think Chris Sale is going to be much better tomorrow than he was in his first appearance. Schwellenbach was probably the best-looking starting pitcher we had in that 4-game series. Had no earned runs across 6. He was the only pitcher to go that deep into a game. So, there's good things to be taken away from the series in San Diego. There's bad things to be taken away. There's certainly bad things since the series in San Diego to be taken away. Unfortunate, again, about Profar. Hopefully he has learned his lesson. And if he did knowingly take it, hopefully he doesn't do it again. If he didn't knowingly take it, hopefully he keeps more up-to-date list of the banned substances. Obviously, this is not ideal. Again, I will say that I think the fact that the Braves are making roster moves tells you that we're not alone. I think the front office knows. I think Snit knows that the pressure's on because, look, there's every possibility in the world that 0-4 turns into 0-7. And nobody wants that. That doesn't do anybody any good. The Braves right now, I hate to break it to everybody, have the worst record in baseball. Now, will the season end with the Braves having the worst record in baseball? I highly doubt it. But they are 0-4. That is a win percentage of 0.000. It doesn't get much worse than that unless you go 0-5. And look, one win I think could help turn this around, but it needs to come sooner rather than later. If the Braves go 0-7 with 3 straight losses to the Dodgers and get swept a second series in a row to start the season, that is, I think, the worst start in Atlanta history. Now that said, the last time the Braves went 0-4 to start the season, they did win the World Series back in 2021. So it's not completely unforeseen that this has happened. And it's a long road, right? We all know it's a marathon, but this is not how I saw this season starting, even with the injuries, even with all of what we changed. I just saw somebody in the comments section mention, we did get a new hitting coach, Tim Hires, and I do think the philosophy is different. And to be honest with you, I'm not even mad at the offense. I've heard a lot about the offense over the past few days. I get it, but they've been unlucky too. Drake Baldwin specifically has been really unlucky. He got a homer robbed. He's had 2 or 3 hit smoked right back to the pitcher that, one of them hit off his leg straight to the first baseman. It was like something out of putt-putt. It's just unlucky. There's no other way around it. Matt Olson had a homer that got robbed. Riley had one to Machado the other day. It wasn't a homer or anything, but it was blistered to third base. Machado, it ate him up, but he somehow got a glove on it. There's been moments where you're like, they're this close to breaking out. They just haven't been able to do it. I think, I again think it's, I think it's highly unlikely that the Braves will go 0-7. I don't think the season is not over at that point unless, something terrible continues to happen. But it's definitely been a rough go at it so far. I hate it. I absolutely hate it. I hate what's going on with Profar. I hate that the Braves, frankly, the biggest acquisition that they picked up over the offseason, and this is how it turns out. I hate that. I think that's terrible for the team, for the morale, for all of it. It pains me to have to be on here talking to you. I mean, I hate to even go here because it's not ideal for me to get on here talking about a PED situation from a player from the Braves. It's not fun. I'll put it to you that way. And it's not what I was hoping we'd be doing. I was hoping I'd be getting on here talking about how, we've gone 0-4, but I really think the Braves are destined to change things and flip things around, and that's still possible. That's still very possible. We'll see. I genuinely hope that tonight at 10:10 p.m. the Braves can turn things around and really begin to shift the thought and move past the Profar situation. Again, not ideal for a lot of reasons. The not having Acuña, not having Profar, that's a huge investment by this team for both he and Acuña. But you're also not going to have Profar come the playoffs. And just looking ahead to that is not a fun thought. Now, I will tell you this too. Before everybody goes and bashes Profar, I remember a few years ago we were here and we were talking about possible ways to trade Ozuna. Possible ways to get Ozuna out of town, to get him on another roster, to not have to pay Ozuna. Whether it be for on-the-field issues, off-the-field issues, doesn't matter. Look how he's turned himself around and really become a leader on this team. Profar could still do that. He's a young guy. He could change things around. He's devastated, whether or not, you needed me to read his comment or a statement from the Players Association. He's devastated. It's not fun. It's not fun at all. And as a fan, you have every right to be upset. You have every right to be frustrated with Profar. I'm frustrated with Profar. But you also have to understand that he is a human being. Human beings make mistakes, whether intentional or unintentional. And we have seen players do worse and come back from worse. And I got a feeling that, Profar next year could break out and be right what we expected him to be. I genuinely hope that's the case. I hope we have an Ozuna-type redemption story. I again think it's very possible. You can tell really by the way he spoke in that Players Association statement that he released. He said multiple times, I am devastated. I see it on the top line. I see it starting out the bottom paragraph. Multiple times, I am devastated. I believe that. And I don't think it's because he's out half his salary for the year. I think it's because he knows he has disappointed you. He has disappointed his team. He has disappointed his organization. He has disappointed the game. We don't get PED stories very often. They were a lot more common back in the late 2000s and early 2010s. They were a lot more common back then because it was a new thing that we were bringing in, right? It was just more common. And it will leave a stain. I hate to say it, but it will leave a stain. Fernando Tatis still has that, he did he did get caught with the performance enhancer. Alex Rodriguez, one of the best hitters of all time, no question. Not in the Hall of Fame because of it. And it's unfortunate. I hate it for him, but he's going to have to move past this, and frankly, so are we. The Braves are going to have to shift things around. Brian De La Cruz is starting tonight. It'll be him. I assume Kelnick in right, Michael Harrison center. Until Acuña gets back, that's what we got, and we'll see if Verdugo makes a run or if Stuart Fairchild makes a run, but they're going to have to get on the horn, I think, and probably maybe make a trade or maybe sign a free agent. I'd be curious to know, my brother brought this up earlier, I'd be curious to know where Adam Duvall is right now, because we sure could use somebody like that, whether in a permanent fixture or not. We are in a very frustrating place, and I hate that the season has not only started with Not a lot of success on the field, but I hate that it has started with this. Because when we turn back time and we look at the 2025 season, we are going to remember, man, I don't remember much about the start. I remember it didn't go well. But I really remember when Profar got caught with the PEDs. I really remember that. And hopefully that will be a footnote in what turns out to be a great redemption story for this team. I hope that's the case. But battling now that along with Ronaldo Lopez's injury, it's tough. Along with just all the other injuries, Sean Murphy, Acuña. It's a tough situation. But when we get back, we are going to preview tonight's game with the Dodgers. We're going to preview the remainder of the season. We're going to talk about when Strider will be back, when Acuña will be back, when Murphy will be back, and, of course, when now Profar will be back. So stay with us. That's coming up next.
In 2025, we're hammering down high prices at Glenn Smith GMC in Opelika. New GMC Sierra 4x4 crew cabs, discounted up to $12,000 off. GMC Terrain with a roomy cabin and pro safety, discounted up to $7,000 off. Enjoy the new year with no payments for 120 days. Choose from over 500 new and used vehicles on the lot or on the way. GlennSmith.com. Get ready to smile.
Welcome back, everybody. I do want to give a thank you to our sponsor real quick. You just saw the commercial. Glenn Smith Chevrolet GMC in Opelika. They'll make this bad day better. They will make you leave with a smile, I promise. They have been a great sponsor to this channel over the past couple of years and continue to do so. And I just want to give them a thank you because where would we be without Glenn Smith Chevrolet? Now, I know that we could all sit here and dwell on this bad news because, let's not mistake it, it's bad news with Profar. But I do want to look ahead and let's talk about the game tonight. Let's talk about how the Braves can win because they do have Grant Holmes on the mound taking on Tyler Glasnow. Holmes has already made an appearance, but he did it in relief, which I think this is where Holmes really shines. This is what makes him more valuable as a pitcher, is that he's not just a starter and he's not just a reliever. He can be used in a spot start. He can be used as a reliever when need be. We saw him on opening day. He looked really good, had a scoreless inning. Now he's going to start as a starter. I am looking forward to it. I think the bats have got to come out. They've got to attack Glasnow. They've got to, at some point they're going to break out because they've had too many balls in play that have their batting average on balls in play can't be very high. I'll put it to you that way. They've got to just break out. And I think a win would do wonders right now for the mentality and for the morale. And hopefully they get one tonight. If they don't get one tonight, I think their best chance for a win against the Dodgers will be Game 2. You got Chris Sale taking on Dustin May for the time being. Sale's second start, he didn't look great this first one, but he did go 5 innings, and that's kind of where they wanted him to be. He gave up 3 earned runs. They're going to look for 5 innings scoreless tonight, I think. So hopefully that will be the case. I am interested to see how he improves. I'm interested to see what adjustments he makes. He didn't look bad. It just seemed to be that, it was opening day. He kind of had the jitters, and frankly, playing with a rookie catcher, one thing that they're going to be able to do to you is probably run. They were able to do that on opening day. Fernando Tatis specifically was able to get around the bases and kind of abuse the situation of not having Sean Murphy back there with Drake Baldwin. All due respect to Baldwin. He did make some adjustments, and it kind of helped slow the run game down over the final few games. But I'm interested to see, excuse me, I have a cough drop. I'm interested to see what adjustments Sale makes and where we go from here with him. Look, he's the reigning Cy Young Award winner. If you don't feel like you can win with him on the mound, you just don't feel like you can win. So hopefully that will be the case for Game 2. That, of course, is tomorrow. All of these games super late, by the way, 10 p.m. Game 3 is up in the air. Ronaldo Lopez was set for that, obviously with him on the injured list now, and that was just announced a few minutes ago. With him on the injured list now, you got to figure out where you're going to go from there. The Dodgers are going to go with Snell, though. We do know that. Lopez, again, looked off in that last start. We come to find out he's got inflammation in the elbow, and not good. Hopefully that's short stint on the IL, and he can get back. But the Braves do have Bryce Elder in his slot for the time being. And I got to be honest with you, I would feel better if it was Reynaldo Lopez. I got to be honest. I like Bryce Elder. I know what he can do. We've seen what he can do. Back in that All-Star season of 23, we saw what he did in the first half. But I just have not felt confident in him in quite a while. And I hope that he comes and surprises us all. But I got a feeling it won't be a very long stretch at the major league level. So, we'll see. I do think that Game 2 is a must-win. I think that with Sale on the mound. I think ideally you win tonight with Grant Holmes on the mound. But this series is going to be tough. The West Coast always is. And it's not going to let up tonight. I don't think so. I don't think it's going to let up at all. I think the Dodgers are going to smell blood in the water. They're going to go for it. And we need to do the same. We need to go after the Dodgers. We've got to make a move. When we return, we're going to talk about Strider, Acuña, Murphy, when they'll be back, and the impact they'll have. Stay tuned.
In 2025, we're hammering down high prices at Glenn Smith GMC in Opelika. New GMC Sierra 4x4 crew cabs, discounted up to $12,000 off. GMC Terrain with a roomy cabin and pro safety, discounted up to $7,000 off. Enjoy the new year with no payments for 120 days. Choose from over 500 new and used vehicles on the lot or on the way. GlennSmith.com. Get ready to smile. In 2025, we're hammering down high prices at Glenn Smith Chevrolet in Opelika. New Chevy Silverado 4x4 crew cabs, discounted up to $12,000 off. Brand new 2025 Chevy Equinox, the compact SUV with high-tech features, discounted up to $5,000 off. Enjoy the new year with no payments for 120 days. Choose from over 500 new and used vehicles on the lot or on the way. GlennSmith.com. Get ready to smile.
Again, thank you for being here tonight. Really do appreciate it. You guys are very active in the chat. If you would, do me a favor, be active on that like button. Press that so we can get this out to a wider audience. Really would appreciate it. And again, really thank you guys for tuning in tonight. Really do appreciate it. And you guys have been very active all off season long, and hopefully you'll do the same. We will be here with you throughout the entire season, even through the ups, and of course today, even through the downs. We got a lot to talk about. But I wanted to leave with a positive note. I don't want to just get on here and rant. That's not really how I do things. I wanted to also talk about what could be happening in the future. Strider, Acuña, and Murphy will all inevitably return at some point, but what will their impact be on the team? Well, I think we missed all three very much so in that 0-4 series against the Padres. And again, we're going to start with Murphy. All due respect to Drake Baldwin. Baldwin is a fine talent. He's got great at-bats. He's good behind the plate. He handles the pitching staff very well. What he didn't do well was he doesn't have a lot of MLB experience. Right? Very unlucky at-bats. Good at-bats, but unlucky at-bats. Not really his fault in any way, shape, or form. Just, it is what it is. And I mentioned earlier, Fernando Tatis kind of abusing on the base pass, just abusing the fact that there's a rookie back there, and Baldwin adjusted and he was able to get a runner out, and that kind of ended that for the time being. But not having Murphy back there with the pop time that Murphy has, and that kind of thing, that elite defense that Murphy has, that showed up. We saw that play out. A lot of people were dogging Sean Murphy last year. I remember it. I feel like I'm always the defender of these guys, whether it be him or Snicker. I'm always the guy that's like, let's hold up, And I had to do that a lot last year because a lot of guys were not satisfied with his bat, not satisfied with him in general, not satisfied for the fact that we're paying him so much money. Whatever your reasons are, I've heard them. But what I would tell you too is Murphy was battling injuries last year, and that's real. It's very, very real. And he didn't have a lot of time. Another guy like that was Michael Harris. Like a lot of those guys were battling injuries. Unfortunately, Murphy starts this year with an injury. So hopefully, he can get back and get healthy and stay healthy. Michael Harris told me his goal at the beginning of the year was to play 162, and that was echoed throughout the entire clubhouse. Unfortunately for Murphy, that won't be the case, but I genuinely hope that we see him soon. I think a combination of Murphy and Baldwin would be excellent. All due respect to Chadwick Trump, he's been great too. But I think Murphy being back would really help the team, help the pitching staff, help help control the run game for opposing teams. But it's not just Murphy. Of course, Strider and Acuña are in the peripheral when they'll be back. We've spoken about it. The upcoming return of Strider in extent detail. Everybody is anticipating his arrival. Everybody knows when he gets back, that's going to be a big push, for depth. It's going to be a great addition. It'll be like getting a huge free agent. I'll be honest with you. When he struck out 10 in spring training, his only spring training appearance, I would really thought he'd be back sooner rather than later, maybe 2 weeks. I don't think that now. I think that we've kind of slowed that down. He's only up to 60 pitches in his first appearance. I think we're around 2 starts away, maybe 2 weeks from now, so 3 weeks after the season started. When that happens, I think Holmes will find a permanent position in the pen, or at least I did think that prior to Reynaldo's absence. So it kind of depends. We're going to see some fluctuation. We're going to have to see Snit, mess around with the roster and see what he wants to do. It kind of depends when Lopez is ready to go. It kind of depends when Strider's ready to go, and we'll have to play that by ear. But I think at the end of the day, when Strider comes back, it's going to be a huge addition, whether Reynaldo's there or not. Because if Reynaldo's there, you'll of course have Sale, Strider, Schwellenbach, Lopez, and A.J. Smith-Shawver for the time being in that 5th spot. You could make that Grant Holmes if Shawver doesn't pan out, although I think he will. We'll talk about that more later. I think that you're going to improve your rotation dramatically when Strider comes back and when Lopez inevitably comes back. So injuries are still a factor. We were hoping that 2025 would be the year of returns, no injuries, and perfect health. Don't move so fast. When Strider comes back, things will improve, but there are still things to navigate, unfortunately, with the starting rotation now that Lopez is out. I don't think Lopez is out with a significant injury. I think he'll be out 2 weeks to a month at most. I'm thinking 2 weeks. He's on the 15-day IL. Hopefully it'll be 15 days, and that'll be the end of it. The last guy that we all know is coming back at some point, I saved him for last, the MVP, Ronald Acuña Jr., he lights a fire in the lineup that, frankly, no one else is able to do. His impact is dramatic. What Fernando Tatis was able to do on the base paths the other day, Acuña is able to do that as well. He's as electric as Fernando Tatis Jr. That is our guy, and he's out. And it's unfortunate, but, Atlanta will have to continue to do this without him and now without Profar. So it's not ideal. It's, it's really not ideal. I think Acuña will be back around mid-May. That's kind of where we're looking at, maybe a little later May. I think he wants to be back before a series with the Dodgers at home. And, hopefully that will be okay. Hopefully he'll be back. He'll be ready to go. I will tell you that I don't think the Braves are going to test it. They're not going to bring him out sooner than he's supposed to be. They're not going to bring Strider sooner than he's ready to be. We'll see. But there's a lot of things at play here. And I genuinely hope the Braves can figure this out. Disappointing to say the least. Frustrating. I know you're all frustrated with the situation that we find ourselves in, but it's where we're at. We're going to go to break. When we return, we're going to answer all of your questions. Remember, Super Chats do get priority. If you Super Chat, you put money in the chat, you're going to get answered first. No questions asked. Everybody else, you're going to wait your turn. I'm just kidding. But we will be back after the break. We're going to answer all your questions, so stay tuned. That's coming up next.
In 2025, we're hammering down high prices at Glenn Smith GMC in Opelika. New GMC Sierra 4x4 crew cabs, discounted up to $12,000 off. GMC Terrain with a roomy cabin and pro safety, discounted up to $7,000 off. Enjoy the new year with no payments for 120 days. Choose from over 500 new and used vehicles on the lot or on the way. GlennSmith.com. Get ready to smile.
All right, guys, welcome back again. Thank you for being here tonight. If you would, do us a favor, like Jeffrey Humphrey said in the chat a little while ago, the like button, completely free to press. Go ahead and press that. Also, what's free? Subscribing. Make sure to subscribe if you have not already. Hit the bell for notifications so that you can stay up to date with everything we got going on here on deck. And, of course, everything going on with your Atlanta Braves. And what a news day it has been. Hopefully it slows down a little unless it turns good. But we've been busy today, no doubt about that. DG tunes in, talking about Profar. He says, I hated the pickup in the first place. We should have never signed him. Hindsight's 2020. I did not hate the pickup. I didn't think it was necessary, but I didn't hate it. I thought it was a good player. I still think it was a good player. And I thought, it can't hurt. Little did I know. Again, hindsight's 2020. Braham says, I was excited about this signing. Kind of surprising and disappointing that he would go out and do this. Well, again, there's a lot we don't know. And it's easy to say that. I mean, it's easy to say, oh, well, we don't know everything. But it's the truth. I mean, we have two varying reports, right? We have one report saying that, he did this. It's solidified, and that's what it is for Major League Baseball. And, the Braves, of course, surprised and extremely disappointed, to say the least, right? But he did test positive for a performance-enhancing substance in violation of Major League Baseball's Joint Prevention and Treatment Program. So, I mean, at the end of the day, that's the report. And then we also, of course, have this report, which is from Profar, talking about he didn't knowingly do it. And it's tough to know, obviously, the conventional thing to say, the thing that the Major League Baseball Players Association would tell you to say is, I didn't knowingly do this, right? Because the Players Association backed the players. So it's tough to know. I wish we knew more, but that's kind of where we're at right now. So I wish we knew more. What we do know is he's out for 80 games. You see that right there, out for 80 games by Major League Baseball and the Commissioner's Office for testing positive for a banned substance. I told you earlier, I kind of went and did some research best I could on what the substance is. From what I can tell, it's some kind of fertility drug. That's what its intended use is, but it creates testosterone. And, of course, in turn, is a performance enhancer. Yasuki Knight says, crazy situation, but the team has got to keep going forward without him. No doubt about it. It's going to be tough. There's no easy way to go about this. There's no easy way to talk about it. There's no easy way to address it. There's no easy way to play through it. There's no easy way. I mean, the Braves have got to respond to this by playing tonight. They find out that the new star player they got, the new teammate, the new guy has done this. And they have to play tonight against the biggest payroll in baseball in LA. Obviously not ideal, not fun. No way around that. But it is what it is. Charles Pruitt says, what else can go wrong? Don't say that, because who knows? We don't want to jinx anything here. I don't know what else can go wrong. I know it has gone wrong, and hopefully it gets better soon. Tice Thompson says, I swear this is just every day for a FSU fan. I'm so used to being disappointed. My Braves were all I had left. Look, I got a Bobby Bowden helmet signed over there. I'm with you. I get it. On the go with CeeLo, says Lopez, 15-day IL, and Bryce Elder is back. Those are the bad things that can happen. Stop asking what bad things can happen. They can happen. Robert says the Braves are going to be fine. I'm glad you got the faith, Robert. I do too. I think that it will be okay, at some point. But right now it just feels like anything bad that can happen seems to be happening. Angelo asks, is this why the Braves got Fairchild? I can't imagine it's for any other reason. I don't think they viewed left field as a need until you got to think they knew before anybody, right? Like, Major League Baseball is not going to make an announcement without the Braves knowing about it prior to. The Braves went out, signed somebody. That was the first indication that something's up. And that's kind of when the media started poking around. And, I knew about it, not officially, but we knew about it prior to the bigwigs in baseball. Because if you follow Mike Deportes on Twitter, he kind of had a story on it. I knew it was coming. And then, of course, Jeff Passan confirmed it. But that was about 20 minutes, I think, before Passan wanted to go official with it. I'm sure he knew about it, but he wanted to ensure that it was true, and I don't blame him. The angry IT nerd says, honestly, this should void his contract. This kind of nonsense needs to have consequences. Well, it does make it where he will not get paid for those 80 games, but he will get paid for the 80 games that follow. I don't disagree with you. I've always thought that if a player, does something egregious, there is a clause in contracts where if a player is just outright terrible and has bad conduct, I guess, that he can get his contract voided. It's not I'm going to sign here and all of my problems are taken care of and I can act however I want going forward. No, it's not that. But steroids are different. PEDs, I should say, are different. We're going to void the contract for your suspension in the sense that you won't get paid. But after that, you're right back to, if he was signed to a 10-year deal, he signed to a 10-year deal. Nothing the Braves can do. Now, for Profar, the loss, of course, is money. The loss is half the season, that kind of thing. But for him, he's also going to have to sit out the playoffs. So, not ideal. Not ideal at all. The Bright Wolf says, we aren't fine. This is the same exact lineup that did back at the last part of the season. They had in the last part of the season. As soon as Acuña got injured, our team got worse and worse and had no hits. This team is messed up until Acuña. I tend to actually agree with that. I feel like until Acuña comes back, we're kind of left without a leader a little. Hopefully that'll be sooner rather than later, at least on the offensive side of things. Him and Strider, losing both of those guys is rough. And now losing a guy like Profar just twists the knife a little. It's not fun. A lot of baseball fans are out there on Twitter dancing on the Braves' grave, too. So hopefully they can make them pay for it. Remember, guys, to hit that like button. Really would appreciate it. We got some guys tuning in late. Appreciate you. I really do. We're going through the comments now. You can see my comments on Profar in the beginning of the stream. We'll also probably drop it in its own cut pretty soon. Let's go. I'm going to scroll down a little bit. The Bright Wolf says the Dodgers are better than the Padres. We got our best hitter gone, and now one of our best pitchers gone. We're going 0-7. It could happen. It could very well happen. I'm not going to sit here and say it won't happen because I'm not going to be memed by any of you. No, it could. There's no doubt it could. And I'm not frightened per se, but I'm definitely a little anxious. I want to see a Braves win. I want to feel like I'm watching Braves baseball. Right now, it has not felt that way. Hopefully that'll change. Angelo says the outfield tonight is, of course, Michael Harrison center, Brian De La Cruz, and Kelnick. And he also adds on, ouch. I never knew about the no playoffs rule. Yeah, Angelo also says he did not know that if a player gets caught with roids, they are ineligible for the playoffs. That's according to John Heyman, and all due respect to John Heyman, I trust it, but I also want to make sure that's the case. But I do believe that is the rule. David Thatcher says GM did nothing in winter except sign Profar. Alex is on the clock. Well, I don't think he felt like he needed to. And I tend to agree with that in the sense of you do have so much coming back, right? We didn't expect Murphy to get hurt. Granted, we did have Baldwin and Trump ready to go. The bullpen could have been better, but, he was involved in the conversations for Jeff Hoffman. He had an offer. Hoffman didn't pass the physical. Dylan Cease, I think, was out there. They tried to get him too high. Like, the GM can only do what the owners permit him to do in terms of finances. So I don't know that Alex is necessarily on the clock, but I definitely think that baseball is changing and the Braves are going to have to catch up. That's kind of how I feel about it. Can we use Alex Verdugo? I think sooner rather than later he may get that call, depending on how Brian De La Cruz does tonight. He did have a pretty good spring training, so it's tough to know. Verdugo's also available, plenty of Major League experience there. We'll see. Cheeseball, when did Profar do the PEDs? Last year with the Padres. So, I was a little hesitant to talk about this, but I think it's only fair to you that I do. I was discussing with my brother just about kind of what's going on. Obviously, we've had a lot to talk about today. Jacob's a big baseball fan too. He's more of a statistician and he's more of a memory bank than he is a communicator. But we were talking about it, and Jacob was kind of talking about the fact that if he did take him last year, it kind of adds up as to why he had that stretch of really good games, and really popped off last year. He's been around Major League Baseball for quite a while, and now all of a sudden he popped off, had a terrific season. You got to wonder, right? And again, I'll say that I find it odd that he was in San Diego when this comes out. I find that odd. I'm not saying there's anything to it. I just find it odd. I find it a little suspicious. I just would like to. I would like to be a fly on the wall. That's the best thing I could say. Cheeseball says, why would Profar do it right now after he got paid? It doesn't make sense. So I'll be honest with you. I don't know how the testing works per se. I don't know that he got tested this morning. I don't know if it was the spring training testing from a few weeks ago that I was in. I was in the room when that was going on. I don't know if it was that one. I genuinely don't know. In terms of why would he do it right now? To be better, to be a good player, to live up to expectation. The pressure for Major League Baseball players is there. There's no doubt about that. I'm not using that as an excuse. I'm not saying that it should have been the case. I'm not saying he should have done it, but that's the reason, right? You listen to, Mark McGwire talk about the fact that, he felt like he had to do something. It wasn't against the rules, and it helped. It helped recover. I hate to suggest it, but it is a fertility drug. Maybe there's something to that effect. We don't know. Maybe he genuinely did something unknowingly. That is a possibility. It's not just that he went in a back alley somewhere and got injected with something. We don't know. This could be as simple as a pill for all we know. I genuinely don't know. There's a lot that we don't know. And until Profar speaks out open and honestly, it's kind of tough to know. And I'm not saying he's not being honest. He actually was pretty forthcoming. He just said that he didn't know that it was a foreign substance, which is, it's an excuse, but it's an excuse that we've heard many times before from other players. I didn't know I was doing anything wrong, and look, in this generation, PEDs is so rare that, you got to be careful, but it's so rare that you don't think about a lot of this stuff as performance enhancing. I would imagine that he probably knew, but it's tough. It's definitely tough. A lot of you guys in the chat, a lot of you guys not liking the video. Give us a like, would you, and help us get out to a bigger audience. Really would appreciate the support. A lot of you guys tuning in late, and if you haven't subscribed, please do that as well. Let's see. Sorry, guys, I'm still coming off all this weather and everything, trying to battle through it. Let's see, Jeff Nelson. Well, let's see. Did I get everybody? Yeah. Jeff Nelson says, been a tough year this year. At least they haven't taken away the All-Star game from Atlanta. Don't jinx it. Don't jinx it. Don't jinx it. I'm counting on that this year. I need that. Joe Reese says, I think Smith, Shawver, and Schwellenbach will be the two best pitchers in the rotation this year. I think Schwellenbach you have a better case for. I think A.J. Smith-Shawver still has a lot of growth. The potential's there. I think he could be going forward. I think Chris Sale and Spencer Strider got something to say about that too. J.M. Gillis says, disappointed with Profar. However, I watch the Reds a lot and can confirm Fairchild's pretty good. However, De La Cruz has more power. Well, look, man, we need people that can hit and get on base. So I'm good with it. Lee Carter wants to fire Alex Anthopoulos. Get your torches, everybody. I'm just kidding. No, I I hear you. A lot of people are going to talk about Double-A. I have learned over the years, don't question him. He knows what he's doing. That said, this is a pretty bad start. I'm not calling for his job, but it is pretty, sucky. No other way to put it. Let's see. This, along with the Lopez news, is a gut punch. That's from Julie C. Yeah, I don't doubt it. Fishy asks, does Profar lose half his salary for this year for being out for 80 games? You bet he does. He absolutely does. Antonio Navarez says, I am having a hard time being positive after the start of the year and the repetitive obstacles, while Philly and the Mets remain dangerous / more dangerous. Yeah, I mean, look, it's early, right? I mean, they're going to have their fair share of injuries too. Let's look at the standings real quick. Well, if you were to go by the standings as of right now, Philly is number one. You mentioned the Mets being dangerous. The Mets are 1-2 on the year. The Nationals have the same record, and the Marlins are actually in second place with a 3-1 record. So I got a feeling a lot's going to change. The Braves are not the only team with an 0-4 record. The Brewers also have an 0-4 record. So it's not just Atlanta. The Twins have an 0-4 record. The Tigers have an 0-3 record. Obviously not where you want to be, but it's good to know you're not alone in that regard. Because you could be. You could be the only team that had an 0-4 record. Julie C. says, Double-A created a nightmare situation. Profar could not have been foretold. However, he knew the rotation was one injury away from being in the dump. Yeah, but I think he was hoping Strider would come back, right? I also think that, it's tough to lose both Morton and Fried and come away feeling like you won the battle. I said all offseason that I really thought that we needed a starting pitcher. And as of today, I'm feeling the same way. I thought we needed that. I thought we could use an outfielder, but I was more focused on the pen and the starting rotation. I still feel that way. The team is what the team is in terms of the offense. They're not going to really get a whole lot better all of a sudden, or with one addition. I mean, you have the team, and you have a really good team. You have to believe in that. The rotation and the bullpen are the things that you can really impact year to year. I don't feel like we did very much of that. I could have used a couple more relievers that weren't named Hector Neris. But, I think it's tough. It's really tough. Scooter Puff, I'm scooting down a little bit. Scooter Puff says, does that money that Profar gets docked get put back onto our available luxury tax? Well, it's voided, so I would assume it does. I wish I knew, but I would assume that it does. I would be surprised if it didn't. That said, the argument could be made that the team already committed that money, so therefore it's all inclusive or whatever. So it's tough to really know, but I would assume that $7 million goes back into what we can do, because it's not the team's fault. It's the players' fault. Blair McBride says, this team is playing like a bunch of chumps. Like a middle school playground, I tell you. Julie says, asking Acuña to come in and be the savior after 2 injuries is a lot to ask out of one player. I don't discount that one bit, but I don't think that's what the expectation is. I think with Acuña, you're just hoping that he's ready to go, he's healthy, and that's it. You're not going to win a World Series every year. I'm not saying that that's out of the question. I mean, like I said, we were in the same boat, back in 2021. At one point or another, right? Like, now that Acuña's out, 2 knee injuries, like you said, and all of that. Again, obviously not ideal, but you're hoping for the best. You're hoping that he can come out and be the guy that we know him to be. Maybe not 40-70, which you're seeing the 70th stolen base from a few years ago right now. You might not get that, but you're hoping for, some kind of a pop. Once he's back, that's all you can really hope for. And, hopefully that will be the case, but, it's a long ways till then. The Braves are going to have to, they're going to have to make do until that day comes. So, Again, hopefully that'll be the case, but you're right. It is a lot to ask of one player. But if there's any one player that I was going to point out and ask, it'd be Acuña. And it's really not just him. I mean, like I said, you have Murphy coming back. You have Strider coming back. Really every element of the team, is going to get something back. Jake Hobby says it's not Snit's fault. It's not Alex Anthopoulos' fault. I don't think it is either. I think AA could have done some more, but AA is also, at the mercy of the owners. So it's tough to really, I don't know. It's tough for me to go pointing a finger at AA when AA does have a boss. AA's boss is kind of like the banker on Deal or No Deal. You don't really see them. They're just this, silhouetted people above the banker. That's basically AA's boss. We don't really know. Obviously, it's, we know just to some degree it's Terry McGurk and, that crowd. But at the end of the day, it's also the Liberty Media owners. That's the real, decision maker. Like AA works within the parameter they give him. He's the face of the press conference, but he's not necessarily the decision. He is their press secretary, right? That's essentially what AA is. He makes a decision, yes, but he does it with, okay, I'll put it to you this way. Let's say your mom gave you $20 for the grocery store and said, I need you to get dinner for tonight, no questions asked, but that's all the money you have. AA could spend that $20 and we can all judge what he buys, but you might say, well, I wanted you to go buy 5 steaks or eggs at this point with how expensive they are. I want you to go buy 5 steaks and, whatever, and you only got, Chef Boyardee. Why'd you do that? Well, the reason is I was only given $20 and I had to feed 30 people, right? That's kind of how it is. Now that's a terrible, small, way to look at it, but that's just, that is how he has to operate. Snit works in an even smaller decision-making circle of, this is the roster that Alex has given me, and I have to make do with what I have. It's a lot of organization, thought process. Obviously, Alex collaborates with analytics guys. He collaborates with Snit. There's a lot that goes into that, but at the end of the day, he's given a bag of dollars, and if that bag of dollars doesn't cover whoever, then that is what it is, right? My Mac is going out, so RIP. We're going to move over here to this computer. I still have the chat up. A lot of you guys in tonight, really do appreciate it. Oh, Lord. Lovely day, isn't it, everybody? Make sure to like the video if you can for me. Really would appreciate it. A lot of you guys already have, but really would appreciate it. Appreciate all you guys tuning in. If you haven't already, again, like it, but also subscribe so that you know when we go live. Really would appreciate that. Hit the bell for notifications too, just so you know you get notified when we go live. Carlos Paulina says all players who have served a suspension for PEDs in a given season are ineligible for postseason play. Indeed, they are. Can he appeal? I don't think so. Carlos Paulino shed some light here. This is pretty interesting. He says the drug he tested positive to, that HPC or whatever it was the same one that Manny Ramirez tested positive to. It is commonly used to clean up after a steroid cycle. You gotta wonder. William Bowles, do you think the Braves will make the playoffs? Yeah, I do. Obviously a rough start, and I mean, it can get worse. I think you're hoping for Acuña to come back healthy. You're coming for Strider to come back healthy, Murphy to come back healthy, Reynaldo now to come back healthy. You got a lot of hoping that you're doing. But yeah, I think they can make the playoffs. It may be a rougher regular season than we were hoping for. But they made the playoffs last year with all the adversity. This team is almost too good not to make the playoffs, especially being that it is extended now to include more teams. I would be surprised if they didn't. I wouldn't bet against them. That's the best way I can put it. Jeffrey Humphreys says, thanks, Tyler. What's your solution to cover for Profar? Well, it doesn't matter what my solution is. My solution will be hitting the free agency market and seeing what's out there. I don't know who's out there. I'm just saying that's what my solution would be. But the Braves solution is what they've already done, which is go get Stuart Fairchild. I'm sure they'll explore more and see what they can attain. From there, it's platooning and trying to make the best out of a crappy situation. Julie wants to know who they're bringing up for Lopez. Of course, they're bringing back Elder. Scooter Puff. Does that money Profar gets Doc get put back onto our available luxury tax? I already answered that. Antonio Navarez. I'm curious if those other teams without a win are actually scoring, though. I don't know. Probably not the Tigers. But the Brewers, I would imagine they're probably having a rough spell, too. Everybody has rough spells. It's just odd to have one so early. Did the Braves get some of those torpedo bats? I don't know. You know, I tweeted the other day that I want to figure out how to get a torpedo bat for my team on MLB The Show. I want to figure that out. Joe Reese, what's Acuña's status? How close is he? We're probably looking around mid-May, mid to late May. That's what I would think. Let's see. Lex Zone 6. I think you're a new viewer. Good to have you. Says, I'm dead serious when I say now is the time for the Braves to rebuild. See what you did to me? You see what you did to me? Rebuilding. Ooh, that's quite an accusation there, Lane. Or Lex, rather. I would say hold off. You still got some years where you got a really good foundation. Because it's not every day that you get what you have right now. And I mean, yeah, you could trade a lot of guys and rebuild. You could do that. I just don't think so. I don't think they're not gonna do it. They're too successful business wise. Because here's the thing, right? The key to a winning team is good players. The Braves have that. The other key to a good team is having a good business, and they have that too. If you decide to rebuild, you are foregoing ticket sales. You are foregoing quite a bit, right? To basically tank and get draft picks. There's nothing wrong with it, but I don't think that's where the Braves are right now, right? With the battery, with all the money that they've gotten over the past few years, I don't think that's where they are. I think they are growing to being one of the powerhouses in baseball. They've spent too much money to not use what they have and invest in it and that kind of thing. I would just be very surprised if they decided, you know what we're going to do? We're going to go back to that 5-year plan we did in 2014, and we'll see you in 5 years. I just would be very surprised. Joe Reese says, Double A just wanted to reset the luxury tax stages to start over next year, then he'll spend money. Yeah, I think so too. I think that's kind of where we're at. And being that Acuña is coming off the 2 injuries and being that Strider's coming back, he probably felt like, we could save some money. And when we get those guys back, it'll feel like we got some free agents, which, not the worst thing to think. The Bright Wolf. I have a feeling Profar started taking those PEDs by the playoffs last year. I mean, I don't like making accusations. I don't. Especially with stuff like this. It's very sensitive. You don't want to say something wrong. But it is... He was a really good player last year. Had a really good year. Had a really good playoff stretch. I'm not saying he took him in the playoffs, but maybe this is a longer, you're really good at hiding stuff till you get caught. And it's tough to know how far it goes back. If he was, I would like the contract to be voided myself, but it's tough to know. JMG Gillis, with the Braves loaded with arms in the pipeline, shouldn't the Braves focus on position players in the draft, especially in the first, second rounds? Well, the problem is if you get position players, I mean, maybe an outfielder, but if you get position players, the tough part of that, I mean, maybe shortstop, I guess, for the future, but you're kind of setting your ways for a few years in a lot of positions, right? Third base, first base, right field, center field, catcher, second base, hopefully. center field. So, I mean, you could get some corner outfielders, outfielder, shortstop. But other than that, I mean, it's kind of tough to know. I mean, the good thing about pitching is everybody needs it. That's why the Braves draft pitching. That's why a lot of teams draft pitching, is because everybody needs it. If in a pinch, you can use them in a trade, that kind of thing. Not everybody needs a third baseman. That's why draft picks that are pitchers are kind of, that's why they're so marketable. That's why everybody does it. But, I mean, you're right. I mean, they could go out and get a couple of really good position players, because we do have a lot of arms. Drew Hackenberg in Double-A. He was announced in Double-A. Blake Burkhalter in Double-A. Owen Murphy, J.R. Ritchie. A lot of guys that are there, and hopefully we'll see them in the big leagues one day soon. But it's tough to know kind of where we're at. We'll have to see come the draft what the Braves decide to do. Horde says, as a fan of Profar from his time with the Padres, I'm disappointed in him and upset with him for screwing your team. He's talking about the Braves, when they gave him a contract that may have been above what he was worth. You're not wrong. I think he feels that. I definitely think, with his statement today, he showed remorse and he showed regret. At least, he says he unknowingly did it. We'll never know. But at least for the time being, this is, he's devastated that he won't be on the field with his teammates for the next 80 games. You see that down here. So, yeah, I mean, I appreciate you being honest like that, being that you are a fan of the Padres. Appreciate the comment, too. Hope you'll subscribe, even though you're a Padres fan, enjoying along. Antonio says, I have a feeling clearing out the farm would catch up with us. I feel there were a few prospects we let go prematurely who could have stepped up in situations like this. Kyle Muller comes to mind when you said that. I always felt like he could have been really good had he not been shipped off to Oakland. But then he got shipped off to Oakland. Jeffrey Humphrey says Lucas Braun in Double-A may need a promotion. Well, I'll let you know. I'll hopefully see him in a couple of weeks here in Columbus. David Thatcher says big-time free agents won't even talk to Braves, don't pay. Yeah, but, do we really want to pay somebody a Shohei Ohtani price? No, thank you. Joe Reese says, if the Braves are going to stink up the house, I'd rather them do it now than at the end of the year. I don't know. I like at least making the playoffs, That's always pretty good. Timothy Smith says, what does your analytics brother say about Arcia? You know what? I'll give me a second. I'll let you know. I'll text him. While I'm doing that, J.M. Gillis says David Peralta is available. That's pretty good to know. I don't know what they're going to do. I definitely think they're having some meetings right now prior to this game tonight, probably figuring that out. My YouTube comment section, maybe he can call, wants to know. Give me a sec. I don't multitask, guys. Your thoughts on Arcia. I give you my thoughts on Arcia, which are he's worth more than what we're paying him. Jeff Nelson says the first pitch to the first three Braves will be hit for home runs tonight. That would be a nice just sign of things changing, hopefully. Hopefully Jacob gets back to me quickly. I would like to know myself. Maybe I can FaceTime him for you. Wasn't Cole Reagan in the Braves system a couple years ago? I believe he was. Yeah, I believe he was. A lot of you guys comment tonight. Really do appreciate that. And I'll tell you what. While I wait for Jacob, we're going to go to break. Hopefully he'll be with us when we get back. That's for you, Timothy. So you better subscribe if you're not already, because I'm doing this for you. If you're still out there watching, thank you. Really appreciate that. Didn't have to. And you could have been anywhere. You're watching here. We're, of course, getting ready for the game tonight, and we'll see what happens. Robbie Grossman available. We know him. Yeah, I wouldn't mind that pickup. David Dahl available, too. We're going to get a break. Hopefully, we'll have Jacob with us when we get back.
In 2025, we're hammering down high prices at Glenn Smith GMC in Opelika. New GMC Sierra 4x4 crew cabs, discounted up to $12,000 off. GMC Terrain with a roomy cabin and pro safety, discounted up to $7,000 off. Enjoy the new year with no payments for 120 days. Choose Choose from over 500 new and used vehicles on the lot or on the way. GlynnSmith.com. Get ready to smile. In 2025, we're hammering down high prices at Glynn Smith Chevrolet in Opelika. New Chevy Silverado 4x4 crew cabs, discounted up to $12,000 off. Brand new 2025 Chevy Equinox, the compact SUV with high-tech features, discounted up to $5,000 off. Enjoy the new year with no payments for 120 days. Choose from over 500 new and used vehicles on the lot or on the way. GlynnSmith.com. Get ready to smile. In 2025, we're hammering down high prices at Glynn Smith GMC in Opelika. New GMC Sierra 4x4 crew cabs, discounted up to $12,000 off. GMC Terrain with a roomy cabin and pro safety, discounted up to $7,000 off. Enjoy the new year with no payments for 120 days. Choose from over 500 new and used vehicles on the lot or on the way. GlynnSmith.com. Get ready to smile. In 2025, we're hammering down high prices at Glynn Smith Chevrolet in Opelika. New Chevy Silverado 4x4 crew cabs, discounted up to $12,000 off. Brand new 2025 Chevy Equinox, the compact SUV with high-tech features, discounted up to... In 2025, we're hammering down high prices at Glynn Smith GMC in Opelika. New GMC Sierra 4x4 crew cabs, discounted up to $12,000 off. GMC Terrain with a roomy cabin and pro safety, discounted up to $7,000 off. Enjoy the new year with no payments for 120 days. Choose from over 500 new and used vehicles on the lot or on the way. GlynnSmith.com. Get ready to smile. In 2025, we're hammering down high prices at Glynn Smith Chevrolet in Opelika. New Chevy Silverado 4x4 crew cabs, discounted up to $12,000 off. Brand new 2025 Chevy Equinox, the compact SUV with high-tech features, discounted up to $5,000 off. Enjoy the new year with no payments for 120 days. Choose from over 500 new and used vehicles on the lot or on the way. GlynnSmith.com. Get ready to smile.
All right, guys, we're back. I did my best to get Jacob on the phone. He's too good for us. He is snoozing. He has a real job, so he does stuff like that. I talked to him though, and I asked him about Arcia Timothy, and he basically said he's trash. That's what he said. I will not say that. My brother said that. I do not claim him. He did have his reasons. He said for the past 2 years he's been below average on OPS plus, but he is a pretty good defender. So that's what you can take away from that. Jeff Nelson says it may have been brief, but I think the Braves had him at one time. I bought some of his baseball cards. Yeah. You're talking about, I just lost his name. Cole Reagan. Yeah. Corey Carter says, wonder if Cal Conley can play left. That's possible. I think so. Cal Conley, I believe, got announced for the Clingstones roster, AA Clingstones, which is right here in Columbus. Excited for that. They got their home opener, or road opener on Friday night. Their home opener, I believe, next Tuesday or the following Tuesday. So we got a little time before everything gets started over at Golden Park. It's Synovus Park now. It's corporate sponsorships and everything. But it is still Golden Park to the faithful here. We're excited about that. I'm thrilled. I saw the park the other day, got a tour of it. Looked great, and can't wait for opening day. Really can't. Can't wait to get to Truist Park at some point, too. We'll be doing that. If you see me out and about, I'll be glad to talk. So, we'll do it. And as Corey Carter said, I said earlier, Arcia is worth more than what we're paying him. He's making $2.5 million. That's pennies on the dollar in Major League Baseball, and he like Corey says, he's a steal. So, my brother and a lot of the fans out there don't like him for his lack of offense, but what he does on the field makes up for it completely. Okay. I can show this. Let me make sure. Yeah, okay. If you see the text right there, epitome of mid, OPS right at or under 100. So Jacob's focusing on the offense. Take that for what you will. I focus on the full player, but that's just Jacob. So nothing's really good enough for Jacob. I mean, you could win the MVP. at $5 million a year, and he'd probably say you're overpaid. So that's my brother. That said, we're gonna wrap it up with that, I think. Yeah, disappointing news for Profar. Disappointing news for Braves fans. Not the news I wanted to talk about today, but it is what it is. Hopefully the Braves can move past it, and I hope. I genuinely hope that they can move past it. Corey Carter said he's never going to be a paid intern with takes like that. Thank you, Corey. Thank you. Yeah, you need to. I'm going to give you his phone number. Josh Gillum says only the front office cares about value. The average fan. All right, I can't read that. You put a bad word in there. I'm surprised that made it through the system. I have a system. All right, I'm going to tell a story. I told you I was going to leave on a positive note. About 3-4 years ago, I kept getting cuss words, and I really try to have a family-friendly show on here. And there's a thing that in YouTube, in the deeper bowels of your YouTube creation system, where you can put words in that you don't want in your comment section. I'll have to add F with an S on it, I guess, because the regular one doesn't work. Or at least it holds it for review or whatever. But yeah, I went in there and put every bad word I could think of, and I thought I got them all, but apparently I didn't. That said, no worry, Josh, I ain't mad at you. Jacob has entered the chat. Jacob has entered the chat. He is here, but he would not get on FaceTime. He would not do that. Good to see you, Jacob. Glad you're awake. Glad I could wake you up. But yeah, funny man Jacob Redmond is. I'm not even entertaining him. We're going to wrap it up there, guys. Really do appreciate it. Jacob, that's my brother. That's my lovely little brother. That's it, guys. We're going to wrap it up. Thank you for tuning in. Thank you for watching. Thank you for being a part of the stream. Disappointing day altogether with Ronaldo out and now Profar out and everything else. Rough day. Hopefully the Braves can make it a little better tonight at 10 p.m. Eastern. We'll all be, like Josh says, we're going to put it in order for the torpedo bats, and hopefully everything turns around. With that said, guys, thank you for watching, and we'll see you next time on Deck. And, of course, make sure, do us a favor, check out our friends over at Glenn Smith Chevrolet GMC, our sponsors. They do great work over there. They've been a great sponsor for us here at On Deck. And, of course, we would love it if you would go check them out as well. Go check out Glenn Smith. If you're in the market for a new vehicle, they have great ones over there, and they promise that you will leave with a smile. Also, before we leave, like the video, subscribe to the channel, hit the bell for notifications. If you like podcasts instead of this YouTube form, we do put these out in their entirety in podcast form. There's a link down below, I believe. So just check that out. And, of course, we'll have that out too. We'll also probably cut some shorter clips from this live stream and put them out tomorrow. So check it out. Go Braves tonight. Hopefully they can pull out the win, and hopefully I can get rid of this cough. That would be great. That said, guys, thank you for watching. We'll see you next time right here at On Deck.
Baseball fans, make sure you like and share this video and subscribe to this channel. As always, thank you for your support.